Helene is officially retired from the Atlantic hurricane list after last year's devastating storm. Helene made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane and hit the Carolinas especially hard. With more than 240 deaths and nearly $79 billion in damage, it's now one of the costliest storms in U.S. history. Hurricane names are retired to avoid confusion and honor the lives lost. Meteorologist Mulcahy is raising our weather IQ on those retired names.
Yeah, we focus in on Helene, of course, naturally here in the Carolinas, but there was also two other major ones that you might have forgotten about unless you lived in Florida, parts around Jamaica, Yucatan, or even around the Texas area. The three retired names that we had in 2024, Beryl, Helene, and Milton. And those names are going to be replaced by Brianna, Holly, and Miguel, and it's a rotating list of 6 lists. And so that means the next time that we're going to have that list represented, the year 2030. So it's going to be a while, but let's break it down. First off, 97, 98, and 99. So those 3 names officially bring our total to 99 retired names in the Atlantic hurricane history, and that dates back 70 years to 1954. Now, focusing on some of the letters that have been retired, this is the 7th M letter that's been retired, the 7th H, and that's also including Hugo on that list, and then the 4th B. Actually, the most common letter to be retired in the hurricane alphabet, letter I. So that's happened 13 times. Let's talk about Beryl. Beryl was a Category 5 hurricane, but it was historic because of how early it happened. It peaked to 165-mile-per-hour winds on July 2nd. That is the earliest on record. That beat out the earliest that was actually set by Emily in the year 2005, that historic year. And then Milton peaked to 180 miles per hour and went through a process of rapid intensification, was officially the 7th October Category 5 that we've had on record. So officially Beryl and Milton, the 41st and the 42nd Cat 5 in history. So let's talk about Beryl. Look at that track. This is absolutely not astronomical. So it actually started in late June where it started its development. Then it continued its way further off towards the west. So it actually made landfall in Grenada as a Cat 4 in its dependencies. And the island of Petite Martinique actually had 98% of its homes damaged. There were 34 fatalities with this, and that's including Jamaica, Yucatan, into the United States. Helene, we know this story. The highest total was actually over 31 inches of rain. Put in that perspective, Charlotte on average receives about 43, 44 inches of rain in a given year. That happened over a 3-day span. Hurricane Helene was almost an aftersight. It was just this low that was dancing around for a little bit. It turned over to a Category 3, Category 4, made landfall actually in the Big Bend area to around the panhandle of Florida. This was actually the deadliest hurricane we've had since Katrina. And we know the rest of the story. There was a predecessor rain event as this cruised its way off towards the north. This was just absolutely astronomical, beating out the Great Flood of 1916. Now, Milton, last but not least, a lot of rain associated with this system, made landfall with a track that's never been seen before, rapidly intensified to a Category 5, 180 miles per hour, making landfall as a Category 3, and it also had a historic tornado outbreak. There were officially 126 tornado warnings. That's the most in Florida history in a given day, October 9th. So quite the season. We just hope that there's not any more retired storms in 2025, but we know how history goes.